Hello, I'm Understanding Politics. Welcome to 2023. In this video, I'm shortly outlining Stalinism, which is the movement created around the figure of Josip Vissarionovich Djugashvili, known to most as Stalin, his name as a revolutionary. Stalinism is the Marxist-Leninist ideology guiding the policies implemented by Joseph Stalin in the Soviet Empire. As secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union between 1922 and 1953, he was the man behind the quinquennial plan of industrialization, the one that led the country to victory during World War II, and crucially, he was the cruel dictator responsible for gulags and famines across the Soviet territory. Stalinism included the creation of a one-party totalitarian state, the theory of socialism in one country, intensification of class conflict, a cult of personality, and subordination of the interests of foreign communist parties to those of the Soviet one. Back in 1923, his role as Soviet dictator and successor to Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov, better known as Lenin, was not given. As a matter of fact, at the start of January of that year, Lenin dictated a letter that criticized Stalin's role in the Communist Party, urging those in power to remove him. This did not happen, because Stalin created an alliance inside the party with Lev Kamenev and Grigory Zinoviev, preventing the latter from hurting him politically. He struggled for power with Lev Davidovich Bronstein, known as Lev Trotsky. By many he was thought to be the natural successor to Lenin because he was one of the leading intellectuals and the leader of the Red Army during the struggle against the White Guardsmen, that were the armed formations of the White Movement and anti-Soviet governments during the Russian Civil War active between 1917 and 1922. Yet, the clever strategies of party politics put in place by Stalin first impeded Trotsky's election as chairman of the Council of People's Commissaries of the Soviet Union and eventually forced him out of the Politburo and exiled him to Kazakhstan. By 1929, his major opponents were defeated. Stalin's doctrine of the monolithic party emerged already during the battle for power, and he silenced the voices of dissent as rotten liberalism. His cult of personality relied on his presentation, although historically inaccurate, as Lenin's heir and the sole infallible interpreter of party ideology. In the late 1920s, he forced the collectivization of lands on rich farmers in the name of the poor and, unsurprisingly, met considerable rural resistance. As anticipated, Stalin launched a program of rapid industrial development that focused considerably on heavy industry to ensure Russia's future economic independence from its capitalist neighbors. By 1939, most of the old Bolsheviks from 1917 had been exterminated, and millions more were sent to the forced labor camps. During the war, he was infamously notorious for agreeing to the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact that anticipated the invasion of Poland. Yet, because of Hitler's aversion to communism, he eventually became one of the allies that emerged victorious from the conflict. Stalin died in 1953. After his death, historians effectively talk of de-Stalinization of the Soviet Union. In 1989, the Soviet historian Roid Medvedev estimated that about 20 million died as a result of the labor camps, forced collectivization, famine, and executions, and 20 million more were victims of imprisonment, exiled, and forced relocation. Yet, to this day, Stalin is still celebrated as a great leader not only in Russia, but across the countries of the former Soviet Union, even in his hometown of Gori in Georgia. The lecture is over. Thank you for watching.